You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series. The QB Power Hour is a free bi-weekly webinar series for accounting professionals presented by Michelle Long and Dan DeLong, who are very passionate about the industry, QuickBooks, and apps that integrate with QuickBooks. You can find out all the details about the webinar series at qbpowerhour.com. So without further ado, here's Michelle and Dan. Welcome to another QB Power Hour. Today we're going to be talking about finding growth in the next 6 months using QBO Advanced to help more complex clients. Whew, I need a drink now. That's a long one. So Michelle, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Michelle Long, as Dan's got on my slide there, the owner of Long for Success. I've had my own practice for many, many years now. Been a trainer for Intuit for, almost 20 years. Is that right? Oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel really old. Anyway, glad to have you guys all being here, and I hope everybody's staying safe. And I was just telling everybody before we got started that yesterday was a momentous day for me because it's been 2 months since I'd had a mani-pedi, and I was very thrilled to get my nails done. So I hope everybody's safe. I hope you're reopening and getting to a new normal and all that stuff. Very glad to have you joining us for a very timely topic today. Dan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Dan DeLong, owner of DanWit, where we transform businesses through technology. Formerly with Intuit, about 18 years with Intuit on the technical support, tech trainer, proficient in all things Intuit side. I was technical editor for QBO for Dummies. I've got a new project. I'm a new partner, chief content creator at Schoolofbookkeeping.com. We're about to launch that in the next couple months. And today we have a special guest, Mario. You want to introduce yourself?
I could do that. Mario Nowogrodzki, CPA, not in accounting or public practice. I've owned Mendelsohn Consulting for now more than 28 years. We are primarily a QuickBooks consulting firm, QuickBooks Solutions, technology solutions. We serve small to mid-sized businesses all over the country, and like Michelle, I've been part of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network for what now feels very, very long. Thanks for reminding me that, Michelle.
Yeah.
Michelle and I have been good friends for a long time as well, and collaborated on a few projects. So glad to be doing this. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, Mario. Yeah, so I haven't been doing it 20 years with Intuit. It's been about 12 to 13 years. And I was just wondering, Mario, would you mind telling people a little bit more about your practice? Like how many people do you have and things like that? Because that's just, people always kind of want to know what your practice looks like, not just what you all do, but like how many people do you have, and do you have a virtual office or things like that?
So great, I'm being happy to speak about that. So we're a total of 14 people in my team, including some part-timers and including one intern. So when you scale it all down, it's about 10 full-timers. We are a virtual company. We do have an office. I actually drove to my office. I am standing here in my office today, not at home, because it's a lot easier, quieter, no kids playing video games. and avoiding that, well, for this 1 hour, that is, right? Then, and because the office is empty, everyone's working from home, so that worked out well. And the building's almost empty as well. But besides it, before the pandemic, we were about 75% or more of our team also work from home because several of us are dispersed throughout the country. A few of us, basically our office is only used for admin, and in case we need to have client meetings or vendor meetings. So we're a completely virtual cloud operation since a good 3-4 years ago at least. So the actual working circumstances of today did not affect us at all. Nothing. We're working just the same. And that's what it is.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's what describes what we are.
Yeah, Mario, I was thinking about it when Intuit was talking 5-6 years ago. I don't remember how many years ago we started talking about firm of the future. Think about how well that set a lot of us up for this unfortunate pandemic that we've had now. I mean, a lot of us were ready because we were ready for the future by being in the cloud and everything. So
the interesting thing about this is it's not, besides the topic of today, which we're going to get into a lot of depth in the QBO world, even in QB desktop with the advent of cloud, and cloud hosting, which is a business that we got into about 2.5 years ago. It is. There's a solution. There's a technology solution for what's going on today. Health is a different. Health comes first, obviously, but health is if you got health, and operations can continue.
Yeah. Very good. Well, we're glad to be having you joining us today, Mario. And yes, we worked together. I remember that Curacao trip that we had for a conference down there. That was wonderful. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was. Dan, you want to tell us about the upcoming webinars?
Yeah, so it's so nice to have this slide filled in. Usually it used to just have a lot of TBDs on it, but we do have a lot of things coming up here. So I want to talk a little bit about this series that we're going to have with QBO Advanced. So the first webinar of each month for the next 4 months, we will dedicate to the series dealing with QBO Advanced. Now today is really just kind of like a foundational type of thing, because we have a unique opportunity as accounting professionals and technology solution providers to really just what's going to happen. Looking forward in the next 6 months, where does QBO Advanced really help with those clients? And that's where Mario's coming in here to talk about his perspective as what he's seen and sees that as the opportunity. And then we're going to have some QBO tools coming up. As far as there's some new tools that have been rolled out in QBO to really help with that. And then our QBO Advanced is we're going to have Aaron Walsh-Dyer come in next month and talk about all the things that QBO Advanced can do. And then we're going to have some e-commerce with Webgility. So we've got lots of things coming up here. The third in the series is going to be some case studies where we're going to have some industry professionals as a panel discussion come in and then talk about how QBO Advanced has really helped some of those unique nuances. We've been doing the niche nuance series, how those niches have been really served by their QBO Advanced, and then future, where is QBO going and where is it? What's its roadmap? So that's kind of the next 4 months for the QBO Power Hour. Now, one thing we want to do as far as housekeeping is concerned. With questions, now we've got some people behind the scenes as well helping out with questions. If you have questions or specific questions, Zoom has 2 options of the chat and the Q&A. You should see Q&A at the bottom. That's how we're going to be addressing questions, because that helps us kind of operationalize and delegate who's answering what question. Because we have some other people helping us out on the back end as well. So if you do have a question live in the webinar, unfortunately we can't manage the YouTube live stream. So questions, join us in the webinar and join us in the Q&A section for questions, and then we'll be able to address those questions as well. We have the PDF of the slides is available at that link. Recordings of the we have the podcast as well as recordings of the live webinars on Michelle's YouTube channel, which is streaming as we speak right over here. You can't see it, but it is. So those that's kind of like the housekeeping types of things for the Power Hour. So let's go ahead and launch the first poll, and it is again just what version of QuickBooks are you using? Are you using QuickBooks Online, desktop, both? Or something else.
And while we're doing that poll, I'll ask Mario one of our first questions here. Bob wants to know, continuing rumors that enterprise will be going away, reinforced but not surprising by the onset regarding QBO Advanced. What do we know or not on this front?
I can speak to that. Enterprise is not going away. You cannot say never. Nothing lasts forever, obviously. But it is not going away. There's still a lot of development dollars being spent by Intuit in enterprise. I can't say the same about QuickBooks Pro and Premier. I doubt there will be too much changes or improvements going forward on those. They're not going away, but in enterprise, they're still putting in a lot. In fact, I just got off a QuickBooks Enterprise Advisory Council meeting just prior to this. Our monthly meeting was 1 hour before today's QB Power Hour, um, and there's still new features that we're working on. The thing is that there's a large, very, very large installation base of over 200,000 customers using Enterprise. Granted, I know QBO is in the millions, QBO Advanced not yet. And one day QBO Advanced may be there on par, but feature for feature today, still by far, there's a lot more, especially when it comes to inventory, especially for inventory, there's a lot more feature-wise in desktop enterprise than QBO Advanced. Ask me the same thing a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
I predict it'll be at least a couple years, at least, or more, 2, 3, 5 years before there's any sense of being on par. That's a long answer to that. Hopefully that helps.
Yes, it does help. Thank you.
And from my employment perspective there, it was always kind of positioned as long as there is a hard drive on a computer, there is going to be a desktop product. There's things that need to be serviced by that that segment.
Correct.
So as long as there's a hard drive there will be a place for desktop.
And then to that point, I will add that even if you get rid of hard drives internally, locally, there's no way to get rid of them completely, let's say, but you just make everything cloud. There's still a hard drive on some cloud server somewhere. So there's a hard drive.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Hosting is just someone else's computer.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So again, our setting here today, or our setting the stage for today, is really just navigating the next 6 months. Finding growth in the next 6 months, because I had an interesting revelation that businesses are really in 3 categories these days. I mean, these tumultuous times, the new buzzwords of today, new norm, unprecedented times, all of those things. Within the next 6 months, how do we navigate the seas? And Mario, that accountants are good at adjusting, at the current business climate conditions. So the middle of the road ones, businesses that have to pivot or adjust. What are these are special times. Can you tell how interpret?
These are special times now. I sometimes too much used word, but it's very appropriate. It's unprecedented. Unprecedented not just in our lives, but unprecedented in our country's history and in our economy as well. Because of this, accountants need to adapt now more than ever to ever-changing business conditions. There are opportunities, especially in the mid-market. I think it's fair to define, we use the word mid-market a lot. So I want to talk a little bit, some baseline definitions. What is today's mid-market client? Does that make sense to everyone? I think so. Mm-hmm. What we're calling mid-market for the purposes of this conversation, for QBO Advanced, let's just say, is businesses between 500,000 and 20 million in revenues, 10 to about 100 employees, and very importantly, businesses that have increased complexity. It could be fewer employees, but increased complexity. Businesses that have had to, likely in today's economy, have had to pivot and make changes in the near term. And there are 2 sides to every business in terms of technology, which is what we deal with. What can technology do? In the 2 sides, I call them operations and finance. In our business, we call it the front office, operations, and the back office. The accounting, the finance piece. Many businesses are finding difficult. They're scrambling just to get online to stay competitive. We're talking about operations. Perhaps moving or adding a web store, e-commerce for sales, something. There's the other side to resolve, the finance. This is the area where accountants can help a great deal. And I think this is the main point that we want to talk about today. The thinking used to be, and I can speak from personal experience, from having dealt with many clients, hundreds of clients. The thinking used to be, we're going to transition to the cloud one day in the future, eventually. Well, that eventually became today because of what's going on. There are new rules of engagement that have been forced on many, and there are rules of engagement that have been forced on many, sometimes all at once because of what happened. The acceleration of what happened in the last 2 months is unbelievable. Many businesses still are on QuickBooks Desktop, no doubt. We mentioned that a little bit ago. And now they have been forced to work at home. Yes, there's the advent of hosting, that happens. We're even, we deal with that a lot. But then there's QBO and there's QBO Advanced. We'll talk about more about those. There's the economic opportunities in the current environment. The main thing is there's a massive move to doing business online. Massive move. Multi-channel delivery of goods and services. The strong attention to cash flow. Every business owner is paying attention to cash flow. And then again, I mentioned something in the beginning, the additional complexity of business needs. I think that's what we can address a lot with the tools that exist, the new tools that exist today.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of businesses were caught kind of unprepared, right? For for this to happen. I feel so bad. Michelle had mentioned, she finally got her nails done. I mean, businesses like that come in contact with people were just so unprepared, and I felt so bad for them, and tried to offer them some kind of way to keep the cash flow going, selling gift certificates or something online or things like that, outside of the normal scope of, just advisory services that we typically offer. Michelle, you were going to add to that?
Well, I totally agree with what you've said and stuff. And, you guys are so right on how the current business climate is changed and how we need to interpret it and stuff. But Mario, for us as accounting professionals, what does this mean about us and how we maybe need to adapt our thinking as a result?
Well, I got to tell you, and I think you've heard me say this before, Michelle, when we talked among ourselves and among trainers, accountants are holding themselves back. They need to embrace cloud technology. We work in technology. We've been immersed in technology, myself and my company, for the last very many 20 plus years. I understand. And remember, we're not an accounting firm. Again, repeat the disclaimer. All we do is a technology consulting piece. But I am part of the accounting community. I interact a lot with accountants, accounting professionals all the time. Today, it's not insensitive to be talking to clients about managing business complexity by using new systems right now. This is what accountants feel sometimes today, again, in the last, the situation of the last 2 months, because of, you can't speak about this, you can't really take advantage. There's no taking advantage. It's not insensitive. There's nothing wrong to be speaking about this. Businesses need to hear from you, especially when it has to deal with complexity and with solutions you can provide. We're not, again, I repeat, it's not insensitive, it's not wrong to be talking to clients right now. Clients need to hear from you now more than ever. Accountants that are, perhaps on desktop or desktop plus and so on, are hard pressed to move to advanced because of the cost increase. Costs, we can talk about the cost of QuickBooks Online Advanced forever. I have a lot to say about it. In true mid-market business, in the larger businesses, the cost of advanced, the $150 a month or the discounted $75, whatever the cost is of today, is pennies compared to other alternative mid-market solutions.
It really is, yes.
There are other mid-market solutions. We can get into naming. There's a NetSuites of the world. There's I'm not going to get into SAP. That's a little bit too big. But Sage has some applications that are very large in cost. We ourselves, I can speak from first-person experience. There's another ERP application that for which we're a partner, Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. That alone is more money. Let's just say, roughly speaking, one user is the same cost as QuickBooks Online Advanced, which Online Advanced gives you 25 users, right? Granted, the feature functionality is different. We're not going to compare. We're not going to go that granular. But let's just talk about the mindset. Back to that. The mindset of the mid-market business owner, the purchaser of a mid-market solution, accountants need to get through their brain, I'm going to be a little blunt here, get through their brain that 150 a month at full retail, even though you can get it at less, is not cost prohibitive at all. In fact, it's what I call pennies. The advanced feature set, I mentioned the 25 users, custom fields, automated workflows, love that feature. Batch transactions, the integration with Google Sheets, the new advent of backup. It's more than aligned with the price point. Before, I want to say honestly, I remember speaking to the product managers of QBO Advanced when it first came out, 2 years ago, a year and a half, whatever that was. And there was very little differentiation between Advanced and everything else. So I said, are you kidding? That's much more for not giving that much more to the customer. Well, scratch that right away, because more features and more functionality was added quickly, and now it doesn't even compare. So for any client, I'm going to be very, very blunt also. Any client that we're getting on QuickBooks Online today, our first thought is QBO Advanced. We have to be convinced to go down from that before we even think about something else. That's how our firm works.
Yeah, I think when you look back at when new things come onto the market, sometimes things burst onto the scene, and they're not like the initial reaction is just what you had. What?
Yeah.
How do I justify that?
But it changed
increase?
quickly. It changed very quickly when we started adding things, and things keep being added. I feel like every day. Maybe that's exaggeration, obviously, but they're being added a lot. The newest addition of be able to do a data backup from a couple of months ago with acquisition of Chronobooks. That's fantastic. That's a deal maker right there.
That's awesome.
How could you not want that? How could you not pay $150 a month just for that?
I was one of 4 people on the QBOA pilot to support all of the accountants. And that back then it was a glorified dashboard, right? You launched into your clients. That's all you could do then. Yeah. But you look at what it's evolved from then to now.
And how amazing. A year and a half, 2 years? How long? It hasn't been that long. Hasn't been.
Yeah, it was back in 2013 with QBOA. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to think like last. I thought it was a year ago.
Oh, you're talking about QBOA. I was thinking about Advanced. Sorry. Okay.
Right, but Advanced, I think it just. I mean, was it a year or was it 2 years? Well, it was.
I think it was at most 2 years. Yeah. By the way, we need to come up with a new new abbreviation, because QBOA sometimes people think it's Advanced.
Yeah, and still the word advanced is a little overused too, because then you're talking about are you talking about the certification or
that's true,
and then everything that's in enterprise that's advanced too. So.
Advanced inventory, true, yeah. All right, so let's not. I want to repeat something. I want to reiterate something very, very important to everyone. Not every. I said something 2-3 minutes ago about it's not insensitive. Remember to be talking to clients. Remember, not everyone is hurting right now. Many are. Yes, the majority of the economy is small business. Yes, not going to deny it, but not everyone. We have first-hand experience of some customers who actually have grown because of certain industry that they're in now. There are opportunities for accountants to confidently approach the right clients with the right fitting software. I joke sometimes. What's a good example of an industry that is not suffering? Accounting. Okay, accounting firms have not closed. They may have less work to do or what have you per se, but not. I don't know any one accountant. Again, happy to be surprised, but no any one accountant that has actually closed their operations because of the economy.
Yeah, they're definitely in that pivot or thriving, phase of this environment.
Yep.
So this series is on the QB Power Hour is highlighting QuickBooks Online Advanced over the next 4 months, and we'll be talking about some other QuickBooks solutions. But what we want to do now is talk about what QuickBooks can do, the right recommendation right now.
Remember what I said. Accountants always have to adapt to the current business climate. The business climate demands alternate ways to service clients and to help them through the complexity. Perhaps recommending or implementing this the software for mid-market clients, because these mid-market clients need better ways to manage their work today, more than ever. The other difficulties of the current climate. They want the help. They want to hear from accountants, and if accountant has a solution to offer, even better. The more complex the business, the more fitting it is to be advanced. In the example I use, actually I did a webinar for Joe Woodard 2 weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago. We talked about the comparison of enterprise versus QBO advanced. And one of the highlights was that in the QBO world, the app ecosystem, the third-party developer ecosystem, is a lot bigger for QBO than for desktop. Why? Because developers prefer to develop, to write software that integrates with QBO and QBO Advanced. It is better today than it used to be before. The integrated app ecosystem is again far greater, bigger than that of QB Desktop. I remember the day when the desktop marketplace was many hundreds of apps you could find there, and now it's shrinking, and the apps.com, the app ecosystem for QBO is ever growing. So that's a great advantage alone. Back to the more complex the business, the more fitting is for advanced. In advanced, you can get more granular user access permissions or roles. You have flexible customizations. I talked about the backup and the restore. I said that was a deal maker for me. Back in 2015, I was sitting down with the product manager of QBO, and I remember telling them, until you don't put a backup function, you're gonna have a hard time having me as a fan. I remember using those words. Because you need to be able to have, advanced, one of the first things it had was the ease of import of invoice transactions. Remember, it was one of the first things that came out. But what if the user does it wrong, which happens the majority of the time? They don't know what the end user, unless they're properly trained, they're not going to do it right. You need some sort of restore from previous. Well, now it's there. It's fantastic. Okay. Batch actions, the batch entry, time saving, big time saving. Smart reporting by Fathom. Do we have that in the list here? I think we do. Mm-hmm. Yes, smart. Yeah. Fathom is a very robust financial reporting software outside of QuickBooks third party, but the first license, QBO Advanced, includes one license of it. The more likely, the bigger the company, the bigger the business, the more likely they're going to be using third-party apps, third-party add-ons. And advanced users, just be mindful. This is a side comment to this. Be mindful that we talked about the price and the price point, 150 and so on. Advanced users need to be mindful that the total cost of the software has to take into account the additional cost of third-party apps. It's not just the $150. Even if the business is complex enough that Advanced can handle it, fantastic. But there may be a need for some third-party add-on. So keep that in mind. It doesn't mean it becomes thousands of dollars all of a sudden. No, it doesn't. But just be mindful that there's that cost. It's not one and done.
Hey, Mario, can I just add a little comment here about the cost? Because this is a lot of times, I think us as accounting professionals, we get hung up on the cost more so than our clients. And I know one time I was helping another pro advisor, and she was looking for an app for her client for inventory. And the app was about $300 a month. And the accountant was like, oh my gosh, my client's not going to want to do that. It costs too much. No. And I said, look, why don't we talk to the client and let them make the decision? And the client, when they heard about the app and what it could do, and we talked about all the benefits and everything, and the client was like, oh my God, that's so great. I can eliminate 3 people out of the warehouse and they can get working on sales, and it's going to save me. It's going to save me so much more than $300 a month. The client was like, it's a no-brainer. It's well worth it. And so I think when it comes to the cost, a lot of us accountants need to focus on the benefits, and most of the time, the benefits far exceed the cost of those apps or the software.
I'm very glad that you spoke of that. I feel like many times accountants, we get in the way of the client's decision. If we mention that, hey, it's 300, it may be too much for you, you're influencing the decision. Even if they themselves think it's a big cost saving, you're already telling them. It's like a parent to a child. You're already telling them, that they're predisposed to think it's expensive. So better not to say anything. Right. Let the client decide. Clients, many more times, I agree with you, Michelle. Many more times will see the value
Yes.
And there's a reason for it. It's not just a mindset. It's not a human thing. There's a reason for it. The reason is that the clients is a lot more involved in their own operations, something that we know a lot about. We work with clients' operations, with their construction, their manufacturing, their inventory. The client deals with the operations. The accountant doesn't.
Right.
The accountant may not see that $300 is a no-brainer. That's like that in half a day for an entire month, you more than save that. That's so that's an important point. That accountants, I'm not saying that the accountant has to all of a sudden become QuickBooks consultants and deal with operations of businesses. No, you don't have to.
Right.
But at least know that the client may know more about that than you. So let them make their own decision.
Well, and when it comes to technology, most of the time, the ROI is well in excess of the cost of the app, your return on investment, because you're automating and you're streamlining those operations, their processes and their workflows. You're appifying the processes, that I like to say. And so I think it's just so important to not get hung up on the cost.
And last thing we'll say is, you're right about that, the ROI. If you look at it, and if the business, not the accountant, if the business owner does not see that, then I don't mean in disrespect, but they're probably not a mid-market business. They probably don't have that mindset. They're looking to save money more than save efficiencies. Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Putting an Uber driver in QuickBooks Online Advanced, probably not the best fit. And a lot of times what we end up doing is we in the professionals, we focus on what it can't do when there's new things that come out. And then we're like to Mario's point, we get in our own way of making a solution, presenting a solution to a client.
Yeah, true.
All right, so let's go ahead and launch our next poll, which is: are your growing clients, I spelled it wrong, are your growing clients clients considering changing accounting software? So let me get the right poll here and launch it here. So it's just yes or no. Now, one of the things I saw in the question and answer, and this is really more of an intuit question than Mario. I'm not going to hold you to it, but one of the big things that I saw with this move to QuickBooks Online Advanced is the QBOA, the client dashboard that accountants get is plus. I mean, it's a plus subscription for the Your Books, to manage the Your Books. And then when Chronobooks came out, and then it became an online advanced feature only, that was a big concern that I saw, that if all the people that are trying to use Chronobooks now can't, because they're in QBO A and it's plus, and not have that functionality. Knowing are we going to get online advanced in the QBOA client dashboard? I know that's probably something that no one can say, no one can confirm or deny.
No, right. I'm in full disclosure, I have no knowledge that that's going to happen or not. I wouldn't be surprised that happens. It makes sense, but I can't speak. There's a cost factor in there, and a cost benefit. I think the accountants would benefit a lot, a ton by that. I think it makes sense. Yeah. I think that was one of the questions in the Q&A, right? And they referred to that.
Yeah. Someone asked that, so I just wanted to bring it up.
So the answer is we don't know right now.
Right.
But
as of May 12th,
if they were to ask me as part of the advisory council, it is one of my recommendations, which has happened already. Yeah.
And I just might add, because I did see people asking about, hey, we want to get advanced and we want to use it and play with it and stuff. In a little while, on one of our slides here, we do have a link where you can go in, just like we have a test drive for QBO Plus and a sample company that you can go in and play with. There is a test drive and a sample company with Advanced that you can go in, so you can play with Fathom and look at the KPI dashboards and all the cool things that you can do. And so you can play with Advanced, and we've got that link for you in the slides here coming up shortly.
Awesome. So about 25% answered yes, mid-market clients thinking about changing their software.
And I'm going to put forth an educated guess that about 75% said no, right?
Right.
No, that was not my guess, even though there's still also, I'm actually reading the results. But is that in that 75%, there's a lot, admittedly, that don't know. They can't speak for the customer. This is what accountants think more than I'm sure, especially today. Remember, we spoke about how the conversations probably have not been had, but today the accountants need to have the new conversations with the clients. And I'm going to speak to all the accounting profession here. You'll be surprised. I'm sure that the number would change. I'm not going to say the majority will say yes, but for sure there'll be a big shift once you speak to the clients and you see, oh, I didn't think you would want to change.
So Mario, how do we, as accountants, then how do we enter into those conversations, and how do we start that to help these clients with their increasing complexity and stuff? How can we initiate these conversations?
Great question. We did a little fun exercise we're going to have in a few minutes with Dan and I. But first, there's a setup. The accountants, remember, you have to have the conversation now. The accounting software is a mission critical tool for mid-market success. It's not just accounting bookkeeping software anymore. Okay, many people think that's just, the client may think that's just my accounting software. I don't want to spend more than $15 a month, if that. But mid-market businesses need to invest in the right accounting software solution. At the end of the day, this is not just accounting software. This is software to run your business. It's more of an operations software than accounting software. If somebody needs to be told it is an ERP software, even though that's usually much larger in cost and larger in features, but it is more in lines of that than just the accounting software. It's the operations software. That's how we always describe QuickBooks. We've been a proponent of QuickBooks being a business operations software more than accounting. Accounting will always happen behind the scenes. It's fine. Don't worry about the accounting. But the client, will want to pay more than the $15 you thought you were going to pay for the accounting. Once you know it's a software to run your business. Another point, cloud-based software like QBO Advanced helps clients move from accounting that shows what happened in the past to what's happening now. Again, from finance and reporting, which is operations, which is the past, to what's happening now, which is running your operations. That's a big shift. That alone is a big shift. So that's how, I believe that's how you begin the conversation.
Yeah, you're going from data entry to just running your business, and that data entry takes care of itself.
If it's data entry alone that you care about, then this is not a conversation. It's a step beyond that. It's running the business, running the sales, running the products, the services, the billing, the expenses, the payroll. All of that is not just writing checks. It's knowing hey, you're making money on a per person or per location or per, that's what it is. Looking at your numbers for what's happening so you can make the right business decisions going forward. Yeah, we spoke about this in the beginning of today's meeting, that times of struggle can be, and I think should be, the most important time to reach out to clients. It's not the wrong time just because of what we're going through. The opposite, it's quite the right time because you're offering the right help at a critical moment. They'll remember you for the remainder of their business life. The times of struggle like this, it's not times to be, they're not to be seen as taking advantage. I don't see it that way at all. This is when the times that the clients need to hear from their accountants the most.
It's not ambulance chasers.
Exactly. Accountants have this fear of appearing like ambulance chasers. There's nothing farther from that. We'll never be anything like. We don't have a hair like an attorney. There's nothing like that.
Mario, I couldn't agree with you more. The accounting and the accounting system, it is so much more than, like you said, just the record keeping or whatever. And now more than ever, being able to use the information from the system to get the information and make those business decisions. That's what the accounting is all about, is to see where can we make changes, especially like with cash flow and things right now, and how can we cut expenses and defer payments, and all of that is the kind of stuff that is more important now more than ever that we can help our clients with. And so I couldn't agree with you more. And it is way more than about just getting the numbers for the taxes or anything. So, but let's get into, Mario, how can we have these conversations with our clients? Because a lot of us are kind of nervous about bringing this up with our clients. So, Dan, do you want to go to the next slide? Or Mario, did you have anything to add before we move on?
We're good.
Okay. So, Dan, do you want to go ahead and go to the next slide? Because what we're going to do now is we're going to have Dan be the business owner. Mario wants to help show you all how you can have a conversation with your clients. So we've got Dan, who is the business owner, and Mario is going to help chat with him and have this conversation to show you all how you can have a conversation with your clients and what it might look and sound like. And Mario's even put the script together for you guys that you can download and read over to help when you're working with your clients. So, Dan and Mario, showtime.
This is when
action.
we joked about this. It was not a joke for real, because in both of our cases, Dan and I are going to play roles that we are not in real life. So, and that's fair. So I put together a call script, which is going to be on the From the Future blog momentarily, if it's not already there, I believe. And someone said action. So, so Dan, these are challenging times. But even before this, you had a growing business, and I know that you had challenges in the past with how you were tracking things in your accounting system. You have many moving parts that need to get more done and more efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, those would be like so useful for me to have to manage my business better. I mean, I've got so many. It's a hodgepodge of technology or things that are, some things are done by paper, some things are done by an app or something. I mean, sometimes it feels just out of control. I mean, do you have any ideas?
Very, very typical. We hear this all the time, especially the out of control piece. The good news is that there are products with features designed for the growing needs of mid-market businesses like yours. For example, I know you have wanted to give users access to all the information that they need to do their job without having full access to all of the sensitive information. Also, you need greater oversight, more metrics, ways of tagging things in transactions. And we have some ideas on reporting that could be nice to have.
Well, that'd be nice. What about like operations? Is there something you can think of to help with that?
Absolutely. In operations, there's tools today in software that help you automate workflows to get more done with less room for error, automating workflows. There are also controls to delegate work securely, putting the right information in the right hands by customizing user access role permissions.
Well, that's pretty great. I mean, is there anything that provides more control over my information?
Yes, again, yes. There are now ways to ensure your data is automatically backed up and you're able to restore previous backups from different time periods, restore points. So that there's complete control over your data and your information.
That's pretty awesome. What about like reporting, metrics, the things that you talked about earlier?
Yeah, you'll be able to make better business decisions with more ways, more fields to track information, and deeper insights from advanced smart reporting.
Show me.
Fantastic. Let's set up a meeting and a demo, and I'm sure by the end of that you'll say, how do I get on advanced?
Yeah, and the thing I liked about that, the way you're positioning it, was that you're not talking about like the end solution. You're talking about what benefits they're going to be.
Correct. Yeah, that's the focus you need to have always in this. Again, this is a call script. Obviously, everyone that reads is going to adapt it to their own. Mm-hmm. But it is about that. There's no mention of QBO or advanced through the conversation. At the end, when you, the client, asks, okay, show me, let's get started. Okay, great. Let me get my tool belt out and show you. But it's about showing the benefits that can be achieved with something that's already there.
You know, Mari, and I totally agree, and I think that's so important about showing them the benefits and stuff. And once you start showing them, you know, especially with the Fathom reporting, and you start showing them the insights that they can get to their business, where they can see their gross profit margin and they can see the impact of an increase in prices or a decline in sales. And you know, when you can show them those things graphically, where you can have a dashboard where they can see, you know, things that are red are declining and we need to worry about, you know, like inventory turnovers or things like that, or a declining gross profit margin. When they start seeing graphically, because I know my clients, you know, I used to give them the reports at the end of the month and they'd just throw them in a drawer and they wouldn't look at them. I'd come next month, they'd throw them in the drawer and they wouldn't look at it. But once I started giving them charts and graphs and talking to them about it, and they started understanding what it meant, you know, and we had what we called a stoplight graph, red, yellow, and green. You know, red stuff was bad, and they loved it. So I love how you're saying there, let's show you what you can get and these insights and things like that. It's not about the transactional accounting. It's about the insights that it can give them for their business and running and managing their business with timely, up-to-date information. And I mean, it's huge.
And remember, in the conversation, this is not in the script per se, because you have to adapt, but each business owner has a different thing that makes them tick, as I call it.
Yes.
Different thing that makes them, and as an accountant, either you know what it is already from the years of doing business with them, or you ask and you find out, and they will confide in you about that. And then you can say, oh, by the way, yes, this software can also show you this, or you're concerned about workflows or permissions. You know, I'm a big data freak, so data backup would be a big deal to me as a business owner.
Yeah, you know, another good question to talk to them about is what keeps you awake at night? What are you most concerned about? You know, what worries you? And then, you know, when you ask open-ended questions like that, and when you listen, the client does love to talk about it. I mean, you're almost like you're the therapist. You know, tell me what's concerning you, what's bothering you.
Without joking, you are the therapist for finance and operations.
Exactly.
Whether you like it or not just for finance, but for operations. Be mindful that you can be the therapist for finance and operations. You can be the therapist for emotional. At least we're not supposed to. But for finance and operations, why not?
Yeah. And the key, I think a key too, is asking those open-ended questions and listen. You know, so I tend to do it, and a lot of us do. I think we tend to want to offer solutions right away. If they say, oh, I'm concerned about, you know, inventory turnover, or I'm concerned about whatever, we tend to offer, oh, well, we can do this, we can do that, we can fix it with this, or we can do that. But we need to listen more before we offer solutions, I think.
Correct.
So that we can focus on those benefits that you were talking about.
In a lot of what we do, a lot of our mid-market size projects, in fact, almost all of them, the majority, easily 90% or more, begin with an engagement called a needs assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in the needs assessment, we do not provide solutions. It's all about listening, asking, listening, taking notes, asking, so we can come back with recommendations and the solution. But as much as we are anxious to come up give a solution, if it's a quick little thing like put an icon here, fine, we can do that. But if it's coming up with software solutions or workflow solutions, as anxious as we are as to giving it, we have to hold back, and it's not a time for solutions. It's a needs assessment.
Right.
And that we've been doing that for many years. And it has resulted in very successful implementations, recommendations, and implementations. When you don't have the needs assessment, that's when failure can come.
Yeah, my years with tech support, I found a large majority of accounting professionals who just didn't want to talk to their clients. Like, you know, it's like, okay, you got to ask them to delete and re-invite you as an accountant. Oh no, I can't. You can't disturb them.
Right.
So I mean, just getting over that hump of having those conversations and now meaningful conversations, and you become going from interested to interesting. Right.
This is one of the best times to do it, because they will welcome to hear from you.
They really need us, and we, especially with these mid-market clients, we become a part of their team to grow their business. You really are not just the accountant or the bookkeeper. You're a trusted advisor and part of the team with a vested interest in helping them succeed. And so by having these conversations and continuing the conversation, you really become invaluable to them. as a trusted member of their team, to help them. And for me personally, it's just so rewarding. And Mario, you've worked a lot more with these mid-market businesses. Isn't it so rewarding to see the business grow and thrive and like they take off and you want to talk about that for a second?
There's no money, as I like to put it. There's no money that can pay for that. Yes, they'll pay you money for the needs assessment and for the implementation. Yes, but there's a third bunch of money which there's no money for that. Seeing the success and seeing how thriving they can be with what you just helped either recommend or implement or both.
Right.
There's a lot of satisfaction, professional satisfaction, and there's a lot of value to that. But we don't, as much as we have our businesses so we can eat for the money, that's a benefit that is not money.
Right.
It's just not monetary.
And
you
it's
could
very
tie your
valuable.
fees. You could tie your fees to the bottom line.
You could. There's some of that. There's a component of that, but it's not always a direct relation. No.
Right.
Well, and I just think it's so rewarding, and having a conversation like you and Dan just did, I'm hoping that we, the people watching, can see, it doesn't have to be hard to have that conversation and initiate that conversation. You all demonstrated it, and like Mario was saying, you guys can take that script. They've got the link there where you can download it, and you can use it for you to help guide some of your conversations with your clients. Dan, you got any comments as the business owner?
Yeah.
Client.
And just one of the things that you can do, how can I help you? Can just be the way that you initiate that conversation. If it's something that's foreign to you, and coming from listening to what Mario was saying to me as the business owner, it wasn't salesy. It doesn't have, again, we can tend to get in our own way of having those conversations and just seeing where that conversation goes. At some point, I'll be like, well, I can't afford to take on anything else, or I can't think about adding anything new.
But look at this, that even the I can't afford, because that's the mindset of today of a lot of businesses, right? Even we don't know the economy, the uncertainty. The immediate thought may be going toward I can't afford any change. I can't afford any one more dollar. Well,
can you afford not
first of all,
to?
you don't know how much this is. Let's start with that.
Right.
Maybe
Exactly.
Maybe this costs you nothing.
Oh, you're trying to sell me something.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, yes, advanced will cost more than the lower versions of QBO. It's a fact. Yes, but how much more? The difference is almost insignificant. So that's before we allow somebody to say, well, I can't afford. I haven't even told you how much it is. Okay, you can't tell me you can't afford. What if I tell you it's $1 a year? I can't afford it. Okay.
Well, and not only that, Mario, but a lot of times these small businesses, they've been operating where they've got their accounting, let's say in QuickBooks Desktop or something, and then they've got this Excel file over here where they're doing something, and they got something over here in this file, and they got this over there, and things are discombobulated, and they can't, make head or tails of it, and they kind of bandage things together. And when you look at the inefficiencies and the things that they're missing because of their hodgepodge system, once you actually put it all together and you bring it all together and you streamline the operations, it can make a huge difference on their business. And they may wonder, gosh, why didn't we do this sooner? So sometimes you can't afford not to.
We get that a lot in our implementation work, in our consulting work. When clients who tell us, how come I didn't know this before? And it's like they feel bad. And I said, no, don't feel bad. It would be worse if you had waited 6 more months or 6 more years. At least you did it now.
Right.
Be happy. Your life will be much different now.
Exactly.
Yeah, technology-wise, I see the businesses that could be, like pivoting and doing something that would have gone ahead of this time, and then they could have been actually in a better position. That's what you're solving for, is the next time that there is something like this that is putting them ahead of the game.
Right.
So
sometimes
better served.
Yeah, sometimes they can't grow. They can't take that next step with the systems that they have. Because what happens is these people start their business because they love this or they want to do that or provide this service or sell this product, and the business grows, and as it grows they just kind of, well, let's do this to solve for that, and let's do this, and they don't really create a good streamlined automated system. And so when you come in and help them to implement some of that and change their processes, automate the system to get the information that they need, it allows them to operate more smoothly and efficiently so they can grow and take that business to the next level. So starting the conversation is just key, step one. And we really can help transform some of these businesses here. Let's see. I think we have, I was going to say, I think we have another poll that we need to do.
Another poll. So has your opinion of QuickBooks Online Advanced improved since you first heard about it? You know, and comes busting in on the scene and saying, hey, we're going to upgrade everybody who's over 250 accounts. You know, like that probably could have been handled a little bit better, but how has your opinion, has your opinion improved since you first heard about QBO Advanced?
Mario, about how many clients do you have on QBO Advanced, or do you mind my asking?
I don't mind you asking.
Sorry.
I don't keep, I'll be honest, I don't know because I don't keep tabs. I have a consulting manager and my COO keeps track of all those numbers. It's several. Granted, remember, our business has been for years, in full disclosure, been one of the top QuickBooks Enterprise consulting firms.
Right, I knew that.
And so Online Advanced is new still, even though it's 2 years and in its current form less than a year. So it's growing. We still do a lot more enterprise today. Again, just it is what it is, but it is a growing product.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and share the results. Yes, 81%. Actually have improved, so that's awesome. And Mark put in the QA. My opinion has improved as a result of this webinar.
Very good.
So just in that
apparently we did something we apparently added some features to QBO Advanced during this webinar.
Well,
no, but you know what? Without joking, we it's not that we added features. We made features. We made people aware about what it is.
Yes.
What it was. And by the way, Michelle, to complete something I didn't maybe finish the thought on the comment about Online Advanced growing for us and enterprise. We do a ton of inventory consulting, manufacturing, wholesale. So there's a lot still to be had that has to be an enterprise, and that's why also that continues. It is what it is.
Yes. And I'd like to point out, those of you that want to check out QuickBooks Online Advanced, you want to go in and play with it, you want to go in and play with Fathom and look at some of the reports and dashboards and things like that, there's the link at quickbooks.intuit.com/online/advanced/test drive. You can go out there and you can play around with it. It's just like the test drive for regular QBO, but this gives you the features that are in Advanced. So you can check out the custom permissions and things like that Mario was talking about. And then there's an overview video. There's a link to some detailed information. And then, Dan, do you want to talk about the upcoming webinar next time with Aaron?
Yeah. So June 9th, Aaron Walsh-Dyer is going to come in and we had that slide where it listed out all of the things that are features or the benefits of QuickBooks Online Advanced. So she's going to dive into some of those a lot deeper than what we could kind of gloss over in our webinar today. So I don't think we'll have enough time for everything that's in there. But she's gonna drive that kind of conversation of what those advanced features are and how they can benefit some of your clients.
Yes, that's going to be great, especially for those people that haven't got in and played with it yet.
Yeah, so I think we have one more poll. Did you learn something new today?
And Mark said he forgot about backups now available. And that's a big one, because I heard so many people that used as an excuse, I'm not switching from desktop until you can back it up. Well, you can, and you've been able to for quite a while. There's also other third-party apps that will allow you to back up QBO if you're not using Advanced. But he didn't know that was available, so that's great. And Tony, and maybe Mario, do you have any idea when QuickBooks Online Advanced will be available in Canada or other countries?
I do not know that. Unfortunately, I don't.
That would be a great for our fourth part of the series, which is the QBO roadmap.
Okay, there you go.
That was a good question.
Yeah, so some of the folks are having difficulty clicking on the webinar links, which that's not the way it works. So you have to download the handouts, and those will have the links in the handout slides.
One day Zoom will provide that. We'll have it.
Yeah.
Where you have live, like in PDFs, you can click on actual links, right? Zoom will.
I'm trying to swipe.
Right.
Working out.
I just copy and pasted the link to the handouts, and I put that in the questions. Let me go ahead and do it in the chat to everybody so that you guys can, if you get the handouts, then you can, let's see, there. You get the handouts, you'll have all those links available to you in there, so you'll be able to get to that.
Well, fantastic, 95% learned something new today. So that is what, Michelle and I's goal of this QB Power Hour is education. Bringing something to people that just didn't know that these things even existed. So Mario, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with us and our audience at large. It was really great to have you on, and hopefully we can have you on again real soon.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate the time. Michelle, Dan, love doing it.
Yes, thank you, Mario. It was wonderful to have you on here. You've got so much expertise. I was very glad to have you joining us today. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much, everybody. And as you can see, here's our upcoming webinars that we have available. We'd love to have you joining us with those. And as a reminder, if you go to qbtrainingevents.com, there's ongoing webinars free every single month from Intuit, as well as VCon and things like that. Unfortunately, due to the situation, we're not doing the road show, and hopefully in the future we'll be back on the road, because I miss everybody and I would love to see you all. But I'm glad to have you all joining us today. Thank you to Intuit, Mario, Dan, as always. Couldn't do it without you.
And we ended on time today.
We did, pretty close. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed listening to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in our Facebook group. You can find those resources and much more at qbpowerhour.com.